Hey, welcome back to the show. Today we're diving into the latest numbers from a major public sector player, Canara Bank. They've just released their audited results.
That's right, Canara Bank, a significant name in the Indian banking sector. They have a vast network and offer a wide range of financial services. They also have several subsidiaries and associates in areas like asset management with Canara Robeco Asset Management, life insurance with Canara HSBC Life Insurance, and financial services like Canara Bank Securities and Can Bank Financial Services, among others.
So it looks like these are the audited financial results, both standalone and consolidated, for the fourth quarter and the full financial year ended March 31st, 2025. The Board of Directors approved these results in their meeting held on May 8, 2025. Let's start with the big picture, revenue and profits. How did they fare?
Alright, let's break it down, starting with the standalone results for the fourth quarter ended March 31st, 2025. The total income, which is interest earned plus other income, stood at 37,352.80 crore rupees. This is a good jump year over year from 34,025.18 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. Now, looking at it quarter over quarter, it's up from 36,113.77 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25.
Okay, so a positive trend on the income front for the standalone entity. What about their operating profitability? I believe the investor presentation mentioned operating profit.
Yes, using the operating profit from their investor presentation as a proxy for EBITDA, for the standalone fourth quarter FY25, it was 8,284 crore rupees. That's a healthy increase year over year from 7,387 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. Sequentially, quarter over quarter, it's also up from 7,837 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25.
Good to see that operational strength. How does this translate to profit before tax, or PBT, and profit after tax, or PAT, for the standalone business in the quarter?
For the standalone fourth quarter FY25, profit before tax, or PBT, was 6,451.96 crore rupees. This is a significant rise year over year from 4,905.64 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. And quarter over quarter, PBT also increased from 5,438.37 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25. Coming to profit after tax, or PAT, for the standalone fourth quarter FY25, it was 5,002.66 crore rupees. This is a very strong year-over-year growth from 3,757.23 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. Sequentially, quarter-over-quarter PAT is also up from 4,104.20 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25.
That's quite an impressive jump in standalone PAT for the quarter. What about the earnings per share, or EPS? I recall there was a stock split, so we need to be careful with comparisons.
You're absolutely right. The face value changed from 10 rupees to 2 rupees. For the standalone fourth quarter FY25, the EPS reported in the results, based on the new face value of 2 rupees, was 5.52 rupees. This compares to an equivalent EPS of 4.14 rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24 if we adjust for the split. So, a good year-over-year increase. Quarter over quarter, the EPS is up from 4.52 rupees in the third quarter of FY25.
Now let's look at the full standalone financial year 2025. How do those annual numbers look?
For the full standalone financial year FY25, total income was 1,42,207.87 crore rupees, up from 1,27,654.37 crore rupees in FY24. Standalone operating profit for FY25 was 31,391 crore rupees, compared to 29,413 crore rupees in FY24. Standalone PBT for FY25 stood at 22,626.67 crore rupees, up from 19,704.98 crore rupees in FY24. And standalone PAT for the full year FY25 was 17,026.67 crore rupees, a solid increase from 14,554.33 crore rupees in FY24. The standalone EPS for FY25 on the new face value of 2 rupees is 18.77 rupees, compared to an equivalent 16.05 rupees for FY24.
Strong annual performance for the standalone entity as well. Now, let's switch to the consolidated results. How did Canara Bank perform as a group for the fourth quarter of FY25?
For the consolidated fourth quarter FY25, total income was 40,256.19 crore rupees. This is up year over year from 37,384.14 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. Quarter over quarter, total income increased from 37,429.90 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25. Consolidated profit before tax or PBT for the fourth quarter FY25 was 6,575.93 crore rupees, a significant jump year over year from 4,960.06 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. Quarter over quarter, consolidated PBT also grew from 5,514.55 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25. The consolidated profit after tax after minority interest for the fourth quarter FY25 stood at 5,070.19 crore rupees. This is a strong year-over-year increase from 3,951.76 crore rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24. Sequentially, quarter-over-quarter, consolidated PAT is also up from 4,214.16 crore rupees in the third quarter of FY25.
And the consolidated EPS for the quarter?
The consolidated EPS for the fourth quarter FY25, based on the new face value of 2 rupees, was 5.59 rupees. This compares to an equivalent of 4.36 rupees in the fourth quarter of FY24, showing good year-over-year growth. Quarter over quarter, it's up from 4.65 rupees in the third quarter of FY25.
Now for the full consolidated financial year 2025. What are those annual group figures?
For the full consolidated financial year FY25, total income was 1,52,657.89 crore rupees, up from 1,39,164.94 crore rupees in FY24. Consolidated PBT for FY25 was 23,025.02 crore rupees, increasing from 19,999.56 crore rupees in FY24. And the consolidated PAT after minority interest for FY25 stood at 17,539.62 crore rupees, up from 15,278.57 crore rupees in FY24. The consolidated EPS for the full year FY25 is 19.34 rupees, compared to an equivalent of 16.84 rupees for FY24.
So strong growth across both standalone and consolidated fronts, both quarterly and annually. Was there any significant other income component we should note?
Yes. For the standalone fourth quarter FY25, other income was 6,350.76 crore rupees, which is a notable part of the total income. For the full standalone FY25, it was 22,452.80 crore rupees. On the consolidated side for the fourth quarter FY25, other income was 8,760.62 crore rupees. And for the full consolidated FY25, it was 31,056.77 crore rupees. This component often includes treasury income, fees and recoveries, so it's quite substantial.
Any exceptional items reported in these results?
Looking at the statements, the exceptional items line is blank for both standalone and consolidated results for the quarter and the full year. This generally suggests that the profits are from regular operations, which is a positive.
Let's touch upon the bank's health. What are the key highlights from the balance sheet, like asset quality and capital adequacy, from the investor presentation?
The investor presentation offers some good insights. Global business stood at 25,30,215 crore rupees as of March 31, 2025, a growth of 11.32% year over year. Global deposits reached 14,56,883 crore rupees, up by 11.01% year over year. Global gross advances were at 10,73,332 crore rupees, growing by 11.74% year over year. On asset quality, the gross NPA ratio improved to 2.94% as of March 2025, down from 4.23% in March 2024 and also down from 3.34% in December 2024. The net NPA ratio also improved significantly to 0.70% as of March 2025, from 1.27% in March 2024 and 0.89% in December 2024. The provision coverage ratio or PCR stood strong at 92.70% as of March 2025, up from 89.10% in March 2024. Capital Adequacy Ratio, or CRAR, under Basel III was 16.33% as of March 2025, with Common Equity Tier 1, or CET1, at 12.03%. This is comfortably above regulatory requirements.
Those are strong improvements in asset quality and healthy capital ratios. What about cash flows and any news on dividends? I believe there was an announcement.
The detailed cash flow statements are provided. For the standalone entity for FY25, net cash generated from operating activities was 59,946.56 crore rupees. For the consolidated entity, it was 60,668.58 crore rupees. So healthy cash generation. And yes, on the dividend front, the board has recommended a dividend of 4 rupees per equity share, which is 200% of the new face value of 2 rupees per share for the financial year 2024-25. This is subject to shareholder approval. The record date for determining eligibility for this dividend is Friday, June 13, 2025.
That's good news for shareholders. Now, let's delve into the segment performance. Canara Bank has a few key segments. How did they do on a consolidated basis?
Looking at the consolidated segment report for the fourth quarter FY25, Treasury Operations reported segment revenue of 7,035.25 crore rupees and segment results, or PBT, of 3,047.98 crore rupees. Retail Banking Operations had segment revenue of 16,843.65 crore rupees and segment results of 3,171.14 crore rupees. Wholesale Banking Operations saw segment revenue of 13,557.99 crore rupees and segment results of 317.55 crore rupees. Life Insurance Operations contributed segment revenue of 3,019.30 crore rupees and segment results of 39.26 crore rupees. Segment assets for Treasury were around 4,67,000 crore, Retail around 5,92,000 crore, and Wholesale around 5,57,000 crore rupees. Retail banking seems to be a significant contributor to profit along with Treasury.
And for the full consolidated financial year FY25?
For the full consolidated FY25, Treasury Operations revenue of 27,686 crore rupees and PBT of 7,839.68 crore rupees. Retail Banking Operations revenue of 64,972.82 crore rupees and PBT of 15,931.70 crore rupees. Wholesale Banking Operations revenue of 49,042.10 crore rupees and PBT of negative 878.74 crore rupees, a loss for the full year in this segment. Life Insurance Operations revenue of 10,956.97 crore rupees and PBT of 132.38 crore rupees. So retail banking is clearly the profit engine for the full year on the consolidated side, while wholesale banking reported a loss.
Interesting to see the wholesale segment's performance over the full year. Were there any significant notes or events from the financial results that caught your eye?
Yes, a few important ones from the notes to accounts. One key point is the change in accounting for classification and valuation of investments from April 1, 2024, as per new RBI directions. Due to transitional guidelines, the bank recognized a net gain of 1,748.21 crore rupees net of tax, which was credited to General Reserve. An additional gain of 404.34 crore rupees net of tax was credited to the available for sale reserve. This means the income and expenditure from investments for FY25 are not directly comparable to FY24. The bank also mentioned the amalgamation of regional rural banks it sponsors, effective May 1, 2025, as proposed by the government. There's also a note on a reversal of excess provision on the sale of stressed loans to asset reconstruction companies, amounting to 1,463.06 crore rupees during FY25, which would have positively impacted profits. And an RBI penalty of 1,63,60,000 rupees was levied and paid during the year for non-compliance with certain directions.
Those are crucial details, especially the investment revaluation impact and the provision reversal. Now this is a critical part, the auditor's report. What did the auditors say for both standalone and consolidated results? Any qualifications or emphasis of matter?
The independent auditor's reports for both standalone and consolidated financials state that the results give a true and fair view and are in conformity with accounting principles, except for the disclosures relating to Pillar 3 disclosure as at March 31, 2025, which have not been audited by them. This is a standard carve-out for Pillar 3, so the opinion on the financial statements themselves is unmodified. However, there are important points in the Other Matters section and in the context of the consolidated report regarding subsidiaries. For the standalone results, the auditors mention that their report includes returns from 20 branches and one integrated treasury wing audited by them, 2,641 branches audited by other statutory branch auditors, and 4 foreign branches audited by local auditors. These branches audited by others cover about 43% of advances and 45% of deposits. Importantly, there are also 7,192 domestic branches that were unaudited, and these account for about 25.67% of advances, 50.34% of deposits, and 26.27% of revenue for FY25. While common for banks, it's a significant portion. For the consolidated results, the report is based on the audited financials of Canara Bank and also incorporates audited financials of 8 subsidiaries and the bank's share in 2 associates as audited by their respective auditors. Unaudited financials for one subsidiary, Canara Tanzania Limited, in liquidation very small assets and 3 associates. The auditors state these unaudited portions are not material to the group. The auditors have specifically drawn attention to a few items regarding subsidiaries in the consolidated report. For Canara HSBC Life Insurance Company Limited, they relied on the certificate of the appointed actuary for the actuarial valuation of liabilities for life policies. This is standard practice. For CanBank Venture Capital Fund Limited, the subsidiaries auditors included an emphasis of matter paragraph. It states that the company, as a matter of practice, files its income tax return based on accrued income from investments, Form 64 and 64C, but in its books, it doesn't recognize this accrued income. It declares and pays taxes on it. This is an unusual accounting practice, pointed out. For CanBank Financial Services Limited, the subsidiaries auditors included a material uncertainty related to going concern paragraph. This subsidiary is not carrying out its primary NBFC activities and is trying to dispose of its financial assets. While management believes it has sufficient working capital and can continue as a going concern, the auditors have highlighted this uncertainty.
So the main opinions are unmodified, but those points on the unaudited standalone branches and the specific notes on subsidiaries in the consolidated report, especially the emphasis of matter for CanBank Venture Capital and the material uncertainty for CanBank Financial Services, are definitely things for investors to note.
Absolutely. While not qualifying their main opinion on the consolidated financials, these subsidiary-specific auditor comments provide important context.
Given all this, what's the overall outlook and potential risks for Canara Bank?
Disclaimer: we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions. Canara Bank has shown a strong performance in FY25 with healthy profit growth, significant improvement in asset quality, and comfortable capital adequacy. The dividend announcement is also positive for shareholders. The retail segment is a key driver. However, the banking sector always faces risks related to credit quality, interest rate fluctuations, and competition. The performance of the wholesale segment in the consolidated books showing a full-year loss needs monitoring. The points highlighted by the auditors regarding specific subsidiaries, like the accounting practice at CanBank Venture Capital and the going concern uncertainty for CanBank Financial Services, also warrant attention, even if they haven't impacted the overall audit opinion. The significant portion of unaudited branches in the standalone results is also a standard banking industry characteristic to be aware of. And the impact of the investment valuation policy change also makes year-over-year comparison of certain income lines tricky.
So to sum up, Canara Bank has delivered a robust financial performance for FY25, marked by good profit growth, improved NPA ratios, and a healthy dividend. The standalone and consolidated figures are both strong. The segment analysis shows retail banking as a major strength. However, investors should keep an eye on the performance of the wholesale segment and the specific auditor observations regarding certain subsidiaries and the extent of unaudited branches.
Precisely. Strong operational performance, but with nuances to consider, especially around the comparability due to policy changes and specific subsidiary situations.
Great analysis. Thanks for breaking that down for us. And for our listeners, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more financial insights.